Start our meetings. At this time, we'd like to take a moment of silence. Thank you. Move on next to public comment. This is an opportunity for you to address the city council regarding any concerns or ideas that you might have. As a reminder, no action will be taken during public comment. If you would, state your name when you come up to the microphone. Please try to limit your comments to 3 minutes if you would. We'd also like to remind everyone here that if you didn't sign in when you came in, would you please sign when you go out so we have a record of your attendance. It's now open for public comment. Go ahead and close the public comment. Presentations and reports are next. Do have just a short item, mayor's report. I'd just like to mention last week in our planning commission, there was on the agenda was preliminary site plans for some new businesses. If you didn't notice that, the first is Cheddar's Scratch Kitchen, and that's going to go in where the old Best Buy was, along right close to Dutch Brothers Coffee. Cheddar's Scratch Kitchen, if you haven't heard of it, this will be the first one in the state from what we know. It's in other areas. It's one of the Darden restaurant chain. Olive Garden and Longhorn Steakhouse are two other restaurant chains that are part of Darden's restaurants. Darden specializes in full-service restaurants. I read a little bit about them. They have over 1,800 full-service restaurants in the world. They're the largest restaurant chain or full-service restaurant company in the world. So that one's coming in. I think Mr. Eggett's already got plans for, well, the planning commission saw that. They had the preliminary site plan. A couple other business. There's a Take 5, and I understand this is an auto service similar to Jiffy Lube or something like. I think there's one in South Ogden, isn't there? Seems like I've heard that.
That's right.
There's one of those going in. There's a pad still available on north of Denny's. So there'll be this Take 5 go in there. There'll also be an additional business go in there. Not sure of the brand yet, but it'll be a drink, I think a drive-through drink location like Fizz or what's the other one? Swig, Fizz, Swig, or there's 2 or 3 others. So there'll probably be one of those up in that neighborhood. So that's just for your information. And Planning Commission's already acted on that, so you'll probably see it on City Council here in the next meeting or two. So, and that's all I've got for this evening. I'm going to go on next. City Administration report. Mr. Kobabe.
This may be a little bit of a broken record because every time I give one of these reports, I brag about how wonderful it is to work with such amazing and dedicated people. They really do make the city look good. They have the service and dedication in their hearts and minds at all times, and their sacrifices to the city and to the residents of the city will never be fully known. And we're grateful for all of them. In particular, this month we have several people who have really just shown their dedication through consistent work for and service to the city. In particular, want to highlight just a few of those. 26 years. Dean Gallegos this month. That's amazing. He works over in the fire department. We're proud of him and grateful for what he's done and continues to do for our city. Next, we've got a couple of guys over in the public works department, Norm and Bart. 23 years each, not between the two of them, each 23 years. And that's fantastic. Again, their dedication and service and sacrifices are just phenomenal. We're looking next in the police department. We've got Tamara Jones with 14 years. That's pretty amazing. I'm going to pronounce this last name wrong. Sorry, Neil. Neil Amadon, is that right? Anyone help me with that? Amadon. With 8 years. Over in the police department, Kathy Doxey's got 6 years. And then over in community services, Bailey Cascadden also with 6 years. We do have a police officer who almost made it to 5 years. He's gone on to other things, but want to recognize and be grateful for Juan Torres's efforts and dedication while he was here. The city did great things, and he'll be missed. And then last but certainly not least, Sean Stanger over in the fire department, 2 years this year. So grateful for all of these guys and look forward to great things from all of our employees on into the future. And grateful for this great community that we get to serve.
Good. Thank you. Do you have any questions for Mr. Kobabe on this month's report? Okay. Move on next to the consent items. Consideration to approve the meeting minutes from August 3rd. Council work session, also the council meeting, and also on June 15th, 2021, the council work session, and also the council meeting on that day. On that date, those were kind of done in arrears by our new city recorder, Miss Maragoni. We appreciate her doing that. It was a little effort to get those together and get it printed out. So, do we have any changes or corrections to these minutes? Mr. Mitchell?
Motion to approve the consent items.
Second?
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous in favor. Move on next to the action items. First action item is consideration to approve ordinance number 936 regarding the final subdivision and site plan proposal for Maverick Store, property located approximately 1472 West on Riverdale Road, as requested by Maverick Incorporated and AWA Engineering Group. Mr. Kobabe.
All right. Thank you very much. This item, again, is being brought on behalf of Maverick, who has purchased some property here in the city, and they are looking to subdivide that property to allow for further development as outlined in the site plan. This isn't the first time we've seen this project, and so I'm not going to go over all the particulars, but you see that the Planning Commission reviewed this on July 27th and voted to forward a positive recommendation for approval of this subdivision and site plan. With that, we do have representatives here from Maverick and with the engineering group, and so if you have questions for them, they're available. Otherwise, we recommend approval.
Mr. Arnold.
Move to approve ordinance 936 as stated within the packet.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion on this motion?
Yes.
Go ahead, mister.
With the engineering group or whoever, I'm looking at your map, and on the east side, you have what I assume are for diesel, for diesel trucks to fill, and there's a loop about a 180 it's doing? It, I don't know.
I know what you're talking about, yes.
Okay. Now, this isn't your first rodeo. I get it. So, what are the setbacks there, and what is the radius of that turn?
So that's for the
Okay,
truck,
wait,
truck
that-
turns through what Maverick would refer to as the high flow canopy for them to be able to circulate through the
Yes.
site and get back out to 1500 West.
Yes. Okay. What I'm looking at is, okay. First off, did they buy all that property and then are subdividing it? Is that it? That's what he used the word, is you bought it.
Maverick is leasing from the Gibby family, who's the owner of that overall parcel. So it's being subdivided to create a remainder parcel for the Gibby family to relocate their flower shop.
Okay, so, all right, so then talk about that arc or whatever, the turnaround.
Okay.
Is that, what kind of trucks do you anticipate utilizing that?
So Maverick would refer to that as their commercial canopy, their high flow canopy. So they'll expect RVs, box trucks, some semi trucks. That what you're referring to is the turnaround is the worst case in terms of the most restrictive truck to be able to make that U-turn and get back out through the site. Does that answer your question?
Okay.
So that keeps all the Maverick truck circulation fully within the Maverick site and off of interfering with anything
Okay, so-
on the Gibby remainder parcel.
Okay, so, all right. So then, with that, now, granted, all the Mavericks are not the same. I get it. But some of them I see where they have parking that they allow. This is not going to facilitate where they can park or they can get out and go into the store and then.
There's no designated truck parking on site. This is not what you would refer to as maybe a truck stop that has
Well,
showers or
Yeah,
anything like that.
I didn't see any
Okay.
showers in there, so I know it's not a truck stop. But still, how are you going to facilitate the drivers going in and leaving their truck for 10 minutes or 15 minutes? I mean, is there a way to, or do you see that many coming in?
Based on the number of high flow lanes, we know the projected traffic, and there's enough queuing space, especially down that aisle, the drive aisle,
The north side.
Yeah,
Okay.
that we don't anticipate queuing is going to be an issue. We have seen in other sites where the truckers will park their cars, and we provide ADA compliant slopes and so forth for them to be able to get to the store and grab a quick snack or whatever they need while their truck's filling up. But it's been our experience, we haven't seen delays in queuing from people leaving it there for 20, 30 minutes or anything like that.
Okay.
So,
All right, I'll take your word on that then. Thank you.
You bet. Okay, any other discussion, Mr. Ellis?
They mentioned that they're going to widen the road on 1500. How far back will that go? Do we know?
so we are widening to our northwest property corner.
boundary
And
then?
then tapering. I know that we've had preliminary discussions with the developer to the north of us that they'll be widening the road as well. We are widening to a 100-foot right-of-way width. I think they're doing to 90. 96. We're following a 100-foot road section, but the actual right-of-way width is 96. Sean's correct. The development to our north, I think, is doing 90. Is that correct?
I don't know.
Okay.
We haven't
But-
seen their plans yet.
Okay. I think the plans are they are going to be widening the road as well, just not necessarily to the full extent that we are. They'll be about 6 feet short of what our
Okay,
width
so
is.
this is going to be up to Riverdale Road, including the entrance to Riverdale Road?
Our at the curb return at Riverdale Road, it's actually minimal. We already have the street width needed for all the necessary lanes in the road, but as you go north, we start to
Okay, so you're
increase
not
the
going to
amount
have
we're
more
widening.
lanes turning at that intersection. It's going to remain basically the same. You're just widening the road.
We are not
further-
moving like the
further
traffic
north.
signal pole, for example, or
Right.
or any of those improvements on the corner. So that will stay intact, and then we're just realigning the curb and gutter to be able to provide 2 northbound lanes along our frontage.
Okay, will there be sidewalk on there also?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, Ms. Maragoni, we poll the council, please, on the
Aye.
ordinance.
Councilmember Ellis,
Aye.
Councilmember Mitchell,
Aye.
Councilmember Arnold,
Aye.
Councilmember Hilton.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous in favor. Thank you for being here
Thank you.
this evening. We like what you're doing and appreciate your efforts. Move on to action item 2. This is consideration to approve ordinance number 937. This is regarding proposed amendments to Title 10 of the Riverdale Municipal Code, specifically chapters 2, 9, and 14, regarding proposed changes to definitions, roof line setbacks, and internal accessory dwelling units. Mr. Kobe.
All right. As mentioned in the work meeting, the state code was changed recently to require the allowance of and for internal accessory dwelling units. These changes are in reflection and in response to those required changes from the state. And then, so those are the changes that are noted in Chapter 9, Article C. In chapters 2 and 14, those are just more housekeeping items regarding definitions and some setback regulations that you see there outlined in the code. And the setback regulations is really in response to a case that we recently kind of had a split decision on regarding some of these setbacks. And to clarify what our code, the intention of the code is, that's what brings that about. So. The Planning Commission heard this item last week on August 10th and voted unanimously to pass forward a positive recommendation to the City Council for approval of these changes to the code. So.
Okay, any questions or?
Okay, I know that the legislature has recently passed some changes. Is this in response to those changes, or are we trying to clarify things for the city?
So the two items that are not IADUs are clarifications for the city, and then we have added a definition there in Chapter 2 for what an internal accessory dwelling unit or an IADU actually is per our code. So those changes are in there, and that's why those are reflected there. But the other one was just, the timing was good to bring that other one as well, just as a housekeeping thing.
Do we have any idea of how many possible units there could be with this change or with the existing housing in Riverdale?
Well, that's hard to anticipate. I don't know exactly the number of units that are in the affected zones. You see that would be A1, A2, RE15, RE20, R110, and R2. So most of those places are already fairly built out, and so we would look at the construction of or rehabilitation of existing homes and adding in these accessory dwelling units in those existing homes. I would guess that maybe half, just at a guess, half of them ultimately would be interested in pursuing an additional dwelling unit in their home. But like I pointed out in the work session, the R18, R16, R15.4, R3, R4, R5, and RMH zones are excluded from this change. And so those would be excluded from allowing or permitting accessory dwelling units at all.
Appreciate what you've done to kind of protect the city.
Mr. Stevens?
Okay, when talking about the definition of ADU, you said our definition. This is meaning the city. Is this did this not come down from the state, the legislature, and we're adopting it, or is this unique to us?
As far as I'm aware, this is unique to us. I think every city is going to have a different definition and regulation regarding what constitutes an internal accessory dwelling unit. Is that your understanding as well, Steve?
I think it was more in compliance with the state, what they were telling us to do there.
Okay, because that's how I understood it.
Okay.
You articulated this is ours, but ours reflects as a mirror.
It will be ours once we adopt it.
Our response to what they came up with.
All right. Because I was hoping if we are given the latitude to have our own, then we could make it, more specific to what we're, to where we were before. But if it needed to be in compliance or in a mirror of what the state dictates.
Guidelines, yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Ours didn't fit before, that's why,
I'm sorry, say what?
ours did not fit before, that's why we have
Fit what?
the state, what the state.
State
tells us
guidelines.
To be in compliance, this is what,
Okay, so we're changing to comply to the state. All right.
in a sense, yeah. Yeah, we are.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Arnold.
Move to approve ordinance 937 as stated within the packet.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Ms. Maragoni, would you poll the council on this ordinance, please?
Councilmember Ellis.
Aye.
Councilmember Mitchell.
Aye.
Councilmember Arnold.
Aye.
Councilmember Hilton.
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens.
Aye.
It's unanimous in favor, thank you. Going to move on next to action item number 3. This is discussion, possible action regarding Mr. Overdeek's water bill. Mr. Overdeek.
Excuse my attire. This 83-year-old had a nap, and I looked at my watch and says, "Oh no, I'm late. I beg your pardon." I could have dressed up and put on a tie and be more accessible, but anyway, I beg your pardon. Gentlemen, I addressed you 3 weeks ago with the intent of holding accountability. I've spoken to Bill at length, and he gave me full confidence and compliance of the issues that are at hand. The issues at hand are this. My home was built in 1961. The water mains within and close to my home are aging. I've seen one water main in 1 week shut down 4 times to finality of complete shutdown. I went fishing on Saturday morning, about 6 a.m. And what I saw was an enormous leak. I reported it to the basketball center to have it shut down, and it was shut down 2 days later. Why I'm here is safety for our water, because it's drinking water. I'm going to explain to you what an OD is and a coupler. The plug within a pipe will maintain its pressure but not volume. A coupler, you have a broken pipe. On the OD, you make a thread so the volume is not lost. I put a plug in my system, in my toilet, it's misfunctioning. As far as vibration goes, for the vibration in my home, it created the damage of the pipe of my sprinkling system. The person in charge that my plumbers called, and they were there for the second time. Now, the pressure by growth, repeat, by growth is Bill's responsibility. Big time. We've talked, right, Bill?
Yes, sir.
And everything I conveyed to him with the growth and repair, reconstruction that we all are responsible for. In Phoenix, there's 400 square feet of lawn. 400 by law. Salt Lake City, right now they're saying, hey, let everything from the sidewalk to the street gone. They're buying it. So why am I speaking for me? No, absolutely not. I'm speaking for the people that will live on my street in the future. When there's not enough money allocated for repairs, what happens? A slum. Do we want that in Riverdale? I'm speaking for those people. So you have to create a budget or laws, right, Bill? Why insurance will not do it. That's just a scapegoat. It's scapegoat. 52 cents of every dollar that comes in John Overdick's home is for insurance and taxes. It used to be a privilege to pay taxes, but now it's just what? You know, Mr. Arnold, you're concerned about cost, and I don't blame you, because to fix stuff and to consume a budget for repairs and future growth, we all have a problem. Financially, emotionally, and physically. I called Norm up and said, I want to water my trees. He says, go ahead. I got quite a bit of vegetation around my house. I've taken care of some of my shrubs for 50 years. I like them. But if he says once a week, bye-bye. So therefore, please render laws that will not make my street a slum 30 years from now. Repairs are needed. I've asked Bill to check in the insurance to make sure it's equitable, not something to get out for an excuse. We'll do it later. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, John. What I'm going to ask you, I'm going to ask if you have any questions for John. John, you might want to stay up here. I don't know if they have any questions for you. Let me just finish here first.
Sure.
I'm going to ask, give the council opportunity to ask you questions, then I'm going to ask Mr. Douglas, our Public Works Director, if he has any comments.
Sure.
And I'll allow the council to ask him any questions. And then I'm going to ask Mr. Kobabe if he has any comments on that. And then we'll turn that to the council. And if you have any questions see how that works. We haven't ever done this before. This is uncharted territory. So doing this. So we just want to make sure we do it right and do it fairly, John, and make sure everybody's heard. And
well, Norm, excuse me, Mayor Searle, the vibrations in my home was unprecedented. In 10 days, the plumbers came 3 times. The vibration was, well, this is my water heater. Bang, bang, bang against the wall. I'm a skilled mechanic. I've repaired gauges. I know what's going on. I shut the water temperature down in my water heater the first time. I waited 3 days before I restarted it. I consulted my brother. He owns 4 apartment houses. He's a damn good plumber. He said, let's start it up. We did, and it worked. Wow. I turned my sink on, faucet, the water was boiling. Whoa, wait a minute, that ain't right. So I turned the washing machine back on, and in the bathroom, the sink, and bang, 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 here come the walls. Hey, come back, plumber. Second time, same thing. Then the third time, the owner of Bachman Plumber came. He put in a $250 pressure regulator. Now, in front of my home, there was a copper pipe put in without an end cap. Without an end cap, dirt. Dirt comes into my pressure regulators. Dirt, remember, the shut-off valve 4 times? What happens there is granules of sediment makes that cutoff valve inefficient. So, guess what I'm saying? I can bear the cost, and I don't want a nickel, but I want accountability. I do. Because Riverdale is where I've lived for 50 years, Riverdale I'm proud of, and the councilman I'm talking to will do their job for the good of all, A-L-L. Not for the good of growth for Mr. Gibby. I beg your pardon for using his name, but for all. It's America, who we all love. I've served our country faithfully, honorably, and I was honored and earned all the rewards I could possibly earn. I'm not talking proud of myself, but I'm a damn good foreigner that's made a whole lot of money and loves America with all my heart. I do. Why? It's America. Any question? Please, I'll take them. And if you have any questions of what I'm saying, you have any difficulty with what I've said, I can verify it with plumbers. I can verify it with all my heart. It's honest and true.
Mr. Stevens?
What exactly are we considering?
Fixing
He's
a budget.
What does that constitute? What does that mean?
Fixing means that money
Okay,
has
how
to.
much?
I haven't got a clue.
Well, neither do I.
And guess what?
It was his June water bill. He asked to have it
Which is what?
given credit for.
I mean, that's irrelevant. I don't need it. Don't want it.
That's what's on the agenda.
Okay, guess what?
Is
Just
Mr.
say no.
Overdyke's water
Just-
bill, and it's like $63, but that's not the point that you're making.
no.
And, 3 weeks ago, or when you presented first, what I requested specifically was information on what this thing is, what happened to you, what Sean knows about it. If you look in our packet, we have nothing. There's not even a page supporting anything you do. And we don't just get up here and make decisions based on what we feel today. We need information, which was what we should have gotten to even bring it in on the agenda. So why is it here?
There aren't any ordinances that cover what's going on. We don't have.
There's
any.
information. He has bills. He has statements. Sean, what the heck is this thing? I mean, we're getting lectured about America, And we have no information whatsoever that was specifically asked for.
Well, let me make a suggestion, if I may. If you can, turn off all the city water for a period of time, then measure the flow. Why I say that is because leakage underground, you're not, and the sustainable leakage is this. In my backyard, right now I got a rupture. I have a sprinkler system that drains itself, but in the main gate of regulating flow, you got 6 valves that cut off the flow. The same thing can be measured by the city. The same thing can. Why? I can fix that. Remember I said a plug and a coupler? That has to happen within the city. A water leak so small, so tiny, but by how many? And when the pressure of growth is not maintained properly, the water lid on my toilet comes off by surges. So having said that, how do you fix leaks under the highway, under the street? By measurement. Because you lose water. And if you got so much growth and not enough water, what happens?
Any other questions? Let's go ahead, Braden. You go ahead, and then let's let Sean say what he's got, and then
Could you maybe tell us in just 1 or 2 sentences exactly what you're looking for? Like,
I would like to see a plan by Riverdale to repair infrastructure. Period. That's all I'm interested for.
okay,
That's the only thing I'm interested for.
okay.
I speak for the poor. Not for me, for the poor. Why the poor? Because when you're, okay, one more example for you, Mr. Arnold.
Don't give me an example. So the thing is, that's what Sean does every day.
Okay,
Every-
I
like
like to
his
pick
world
I like
does
to
it
pick
every
on
day.
you, Mr. Arnold, because guess what? You're the money man.
Okay, should we let Sean talk? Let's let Sean explain what's going on with the
Okay.
infrastructure.
You-
Because you're attacking the city that we're not doing something, so let's let Public Works explain what they're doing.
Sure,
Okay?
I understand.
So let's let Sean, let's let Public Works tell us what's going on with the city.
Yeah, but you-
Okay, can you just let him talk?
they do have a plan, John,
you
to
provide the money.
repair
So
infrastructure.
how it works is each one of these department heads, through Bill, they do their budget. Okay? They say, this is what we need. Chief Brinkman right now is facing salary issues because other people are coming in, taking his officers for more money. So he needs to present us with a plan that's sustainable with the money we've got. We're not the money people. That's, matter of fact, well, it's in May. The budget meeting is in May. And that's where you need to come and go, okay, how does this thing work? Because Sean comes to us and says, on his plan, on his maintenance plan, just like your gauges, when you do your gauges, right? You have a plan and say, these gauges need to be done every 90 days, these need to be done every whatever. Sean does that, and he has his plan. And what's on the agenda isn't that. What's on the agenda is your water bill.
No, yeah, what's on my agenda?
We cannot talk about anything other than your bill.
Okay, I don't care about my bill, Mr. Arnold. What I care about is for the good of kids and families. When purging is required, and it's not done, who's at fault? How do you purge a water line under the street? You go to the fire hydrants and open them up. It wasn't done. Accountability, remember?
I think it has been done
Mr.
because
Over-
our fire department does it.
It was
Mr.
not
Overdy.
done when growth was injected.
Mr. Overdy,
Yes,
that is what is on our agenda is.
okay, fine. I understand.
What is the water bill? So as far, and
forget
Sean,
the-
Sean can tell you, I know for a fact that he has, your request was to show that there was a plan to repair infrastructure. I know he has it, and he can show you that. He does have a detailed plan to repair infrastructure, so.
Well, that's
But
fine.
I think what the council's looking for is what, what it's cost you and to do. I know this has taken place. I know Alan's asked for information. He probably could do it in a few one-liners, but this thing's gone on for years, okay? It's not something that just happened, a one-time incident and caused this. And it's gone, 20 years maybe? Toilet blew up and all those things. And I think they replaced that. I think they paid for that. But that's kind of what they need to know is just about so they can deal with this water bill issue. If it's for something else, then we've got to put that on the agenda so that we're discussing exactly what it is we're trying to come up with.
Norm, a plumber come in from a 1/2 ounce to a 3/8 ounce in my sink. In my sprinkler system, what I used to have, now it's reduced. Why? They don't make the same head anymore. Now, all the sprinkler heads are made in China. They're reduced. What? By volume, not by pressure. After the plumbers got done for the 3rd time, all the people for the water, the pressure was checked throughout the city. Anytime there's a new structure built, it has to be checked.
Councilor Arnold?
What's that?
Oh, excuse me, Mitchell.
So, Mr. Overdeek, if we were to give you a copy of our plan, of how we maintain things, what the plan is year by year to replace, how we fund it, how we bring the money into the city on the water bills, I mean, would that make you happy? If we were able to give
I
you
know that. I look.
the year by year, like it'd show your neighborhood is due to be replaced on this year.
I can't do that for every resident in.
Yeah,
have that information, that
Mitchell.
detail.
Mr. Mitchell, I fought a governor for water rights 4 years. I know what's taken place. Thank you for that advice.
Well, I'm just asking.
But I have it.
What you want, like.
Look, I don't need that. I got it in my head and I know it.
Okay.
I went to the Bureau of Reclamation in Salt Lake City.
But we want to get you satisfied.
Well, I'll tell you
if
what.
possible. And so that's why I was like, what do you want?
I appreciate it, Mr. Mitchell.
And you said you wanted a plan for the maintenance.
Look, yes, for the future, right, Bill?
And we can.
For the future.
And
That's
there
all I'm
is-
interested in.
There is a plan for
We have that.
Okay, that's cool.
infrastructure repair.
And why is I don't want my street 30 years from now become a slum. Because all of these conditions that I just described, from ODs and plugs and couplers and this is apparent. When you have growth and not enough water, I read the last statement of water conservation that Mayor Searle gave us for instructions. That's why I'm here. Anyway, I'm sorry for being so vocal, Mr. Arnold. I hope it's not personal between you and I.
It's not personal at all. I'm trying to.
So,
So the thing is, John, this is the thing that's really important. First of all, we have rules in the meeting that we can't, or we get in trouble with the state. We're here to talk about your water bill, period.
Yeah.
No. That's what's on the agenda.
Yeah.
So, and then everything that you're talking about is what Sean does. It's what Bill does. It's what Chief Shawley does every day. And I don't know if you heard Bill's thing about the employees that they were honoring. It's a great group of employees, but we don't have enough money to go through and replace everything. So it's not personal, because I live on the streets too, and I don't want them to be slums and all that. But one, we got to get to Sean. Not even to Sean. The thing we're way out of control here is the meeting itself, because we don't hold a court when we put something on the agenda. We don't say John's bill and then hold a court. And that's where we're going, and we're way out of line, and this meeting needs to get into control.
Sure.
So this is about your bill, period, end of story. That's it. Not Fox News, not CNN, not America. It's John's bill.
It's parliamentary procedure shut me down many
No,
times.
it's
Many
John's
times,
bill.
not here, but many times. Parliamentary procedure. I don't know it. I've studied it. I've been part of it.
Again,
I'm-
John's bill. Not parliamentary procedures, Robert's Rules of Order, John's bill.
Right. Okay. John Bill says, don't pay me, please. Please.
Okay.
Just forget it. I've got so much money it's coming out of my ears. Why is, and I'll tell you why.
don't see it.
I earned it. See those two? I earned it.
The old-fashioned way, right?
You damn right. Love y'all. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank
We
you,
love
sir.
you too, John. Thanks. Okay. Okay, move on next to discretionary items. Do we have any discretionary business for this meeting?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr.
I just had one thing real quick. So I was on that meeting with Bill yesterday with Utah League of Cities and Towns, and they were discussing the possible sales tax discussions that would affect us drastically. And one of the things they encouraged, not just us, but all city council members, mayors, anybody, is to reach out to your representatives while the legislative session is not going on, while they're not busy, and just maybe introduce yourself. I know Bill and the mayor have, relationships with Senator Milner and Representative Miles, but if you just, it'd be a good time for each of us to maybe say, hey, this is who I am. This is, you don't even need to hit them with any concerns or anything. You just kind of say, hey, this is who I am and I represent Riverdale, just so that if your name pops up later, maybe they can associate it with something. And so I would just encourage, I'm going to reach out to them and just introduce myself. And also, I wouldn't mind getting them to any sort of an event. Like, I thought maybe we could invite them to that CTC marathon. Anything we could do to get their feet in Riverdale,
Even a block party.
Yeah, a block party. Anything we could reach out to them and just say, hey, I know you're not doing the legislature right now, so if you want to meet some constituents, why don't you stop by? So anyway, I'm going to email them. I think it would benefit all of us if we did.
I think that's with Cal Musselman, so we call her too.
But yeah. Yeah.
Knows everybody.
Any other, Mr.
Yes.
Stevens?
This is for Chief Brinkman. Down on the trail where I patronize, there's, signs and rules. One of them says no motorized vehicles. Now, we see bicycles, and we obey the bicyclists for the most part are very courteous, and they'll ring their bell or say on your left and go by you. Recently, I had an encounter where a couple of people came up on us so quickly and just shot right by us. Now, they were on an electric bike. If you could take a moment and explain, and I understand there's 3 levels of electric motors on pedal-assisted bicycles, and I know it's almost impossible to patrol down there, but I could see a potential safety hazard because some of those electric bikes can get up to 25, even 30 miles an hour. Now, what are we allowing down there? Because it says no motorized, but yet you see all these electric bikes, and some of them are pretty brisk. If you would, please.
Yeah, can I just make a comment? This isn't on the agenda either. Is this proper discretionary business? Is this something that we should bring up further?
Well, we need to be careful with this, and that's why I tell you every time we do this every year, I hate this part of the agenda just for that reason. Just as an example, and I'm not picking on anybody, but Bart brought up the deal on the trail last meeting. And then right after that, the next day, we get calls from people who are mad because you guys discussed those tree houses and those rocks down there when they didn't have any notice for it. And you didn't take any action, so I don't think it was illegal, but it looks bad. And that's part of the problem why we don't want to do that. We want our public to be informed, and when we bring these things up in discretionary, they don't even know, and that's the problem. And so it looks bad, if nothing else. If you take action, that's an illegal meeting. but we didn't last week. I mean, it ended there. Sean said it's already on there, end of story kind of thing. But really, discretionary should be for things like what Braden mentioned, or the Lions dinner, or something that really has no impact on anything. And these other items, we should list those as discussionary items. I mean, we really should if we're going to do it right. And that's why I just hate that part of our agenda, because it almost invites you to do that. And I'm not blaming anybody, because we've done this since I've been here, and I complain about it every year, and it still happens. And we just chase our tails sometimes on that thing, because it almost sets us up to do that, and it really should not happen.
Well, and we've been told many times, email Bill, he'll get it to the department head, and we'll get the information.
Okay, that's fine. I'll withdraw it because public safety obviously don't want to keep people from getting home or getting to their spouse. I'm done.
I like her. I like that.
Because I know it's important.
I thought
But
it-
public safety on the trail, bring it up to the adults in your.
My thought was, I thought that the chief could just answer the question. I was watching the discussion.
I mean, I was very careful not
Trying to
to
watch
ask
that.
anything other than information.
All it was
But
asked,
people, council members want to get home. Let's get this over with. I don't want to keep the people from their Fox News
I don't watch Fox. It's dinner, actually.
or whatever. I got to get home to Mama.
It's my wife, actually.
Mama San.
I don't call her.
you know, just one thing on those electric bikes. I know that there are quite a few residents that, not residents, but I think even people in other cities are riding the electric bikes to commute to work and that in the mornings. I don't know, probably in going home in the afternoon, but anything else for discretionary?
I'm glad we got fully lectured on appropriate, because I don't want to have anybody being upset or have to spend a minute here longer than they have to. I remember when we had Cody on the council, these two would carry on about how quickly we could get out of here. And, you know, this is a time when the council discusses things typically, but we got the complainers, we got the people who want to get out of here. So I won't be, I won't be able to. I'm done.
Bart, you're getting a little
Yeah,
bit out of
I'm
it.
annoyed. I'm very annoyed
No,
because
I'm
this
not
is.
no, but I think it's probably enough. We know and we understand.
I don't think so.
I do have an item of discretionary business, and we're not going to discuss anything, okay? I just wanted to share something with them. And I'm going to take my time, Bart, for you, so we can go longer and keep some of these people sitting here. Okay, so it's going to take me a little minute to get this out, but I thought of it interest because you mentioned up in the work session about they'll have to tweak the lights on 1500 West, but I thought you'd find this of interest because it is significant, and it's really, all in all, it's a big deal. It's saving probably lives and property. Troy Buller, general manager of Larry H. Miller, he brought to my attention the number of accidents that they were watching from their dealership, and we had a lot. You're all aware that I read all the pass-ons that from the end of shift, Chief Brakeman sends them to me, and I read them faithfully. I really do, and there were a lot of accidents happening in that intersection, and I mean there was some Dukes of Hazzard type accidents. One car did one of these and landed in the lot over there at Larry H. Miller, but there were a lot of rollovers. Chief can verify this, okay? There was some horrendous, that's high-speed stuff there, okay? So Chief got some figures, and Sean put together some data. Sean and I went and talked to Troy, and it kind of went back and forth a little bit, but we arranged for a meeting with UDOT. I called UDOT. I had a contact there, and they hooked us up with a traffic engineer, and we got on a virtual meeting with some folks from UDOT. This was during the COVID thing, and this gal, and she was sharp. I thought it was really good. I wish I remember her name. It's been some time, some months ago this happened, but I never did share this with you. But anyway, she says we need to make we'll need to make some adjustments. That's what they come up with. They made those adjustments, okay, and I don't want to knock on wood, but I know of one rear end accident that's happened there since then in months, okay? And I mean, it was like sometimes there was 2 or 3 a day that happened up there. I mean, they were just, and then they made we talked to them, we never heard back from them. And then one day I talked to Troy, and Troy says, my guys are asking my people, why aren't we having any accidents? But whatever they did changing those lights, I think there was maybe one other accident, but this has been, you can't imagine the difference whatever they tweaked made. And I don't know the exact change, but just something simple like that, somebody, and that was the dealership there brought it to our attention. There was something happening there, but it's really changed, hasn't it, Chief? It's unbelievable what happened with that. So I just wanted to share that with you. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
This meeting
Nay.
is adjourned. You can stay, Bart, if you want.
As long as we have a quorum.
Braden too. There's 2 of us. Make sure you get that right on the close. We almost had 3 of us. I know, that would have sucked.